Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about what it takes to teach private music lessons. Let's dive right in. So first off, this topic is very near and dear to my heart. As a student, I began taking private drum lessons as a 9-year-old. I actually stuck with that all the way through grade school and even through college. I actually studied drum set in college. I have a music performance degree, and I actually currently work as a full-time private instructor. So this is my home studio. I've got over 50 students enrolled in lessons currently, and I've been doing this for about 8 years and full-time for the last 3 years. So I've taught thousands of lessons, interacted with hundreds of different individuals over that time. So I'm going to be kind of sharing my experience and my tips for you if you want to become a private music teacher. I'm going to be glancing over here at my laptop because I jotted down a few notes, and I'm going to basically be talking about this in two parts: practical skills that you need to have, and then some life skills that you should have in order to teach private lessons. So the first skill, the first practical skill, is to have a plan. You need to have some sort of curriculum in place when you go to teach your private students. Of course, every student is different, and you're going to, gradually deviate from that plan and make adjustments, but you need to start with a plan. That could be a drum method book. In my case, I ended up writing my own curriculum for my students because I was running into issues of getting the same exact editions and prints of certain drum method books, so I decided to just create my own. That way I could have total control in, sending resources to my students, and we can all be on the same page every single week. So that's practical skill 1, have a plan. Practical skill 2, have a system. You need a system to keep track of your calendar, to keep track of your lessons, your dates and times, so that you don't get them mixed up. You need to have a system for tracking the notes and the actual material that you're working on with each student. And you need to have a system for sending invoices to parents or to adult students if they're paying for their own lessons. The system that I've been using for several years now is called My Music Staff. I would highly recommend it. It's very affordable, and it allows me to send lesson invoices, to keep track of my calendar. I can keep track of my notes for all my students. Once you get to having 30, 40, 50 students, you can't just mentally remember what you did with every student. So My Music Staff allows me to jot notes, recapping our lesson. I usually type a few sentences in there telling the student what their homework is for that week. Then when they come in the following week, I'm able to pull up their profile in their calendar, and I can see exactly the notes that we worked on in our last lesson. The third practical step is that you need to be able to transcribe music. And you, as a drummer or musician, whatever instrument you play, you yourself need to be versed in many styles of music. Okay, you need to be a pretty proficient player so that you can, teach the broadest spectrum of students possible. If you have somebody come in who wants to work on jazz, but you only know how to play rock, then you've just lost a student. So being able to play many styles is really important. Transcribing is huge, okay? I personally, over the last 8 years, have become pretty proficient at MuseScore. It's a free music notation software. There's also an excellent online resource that I use literally every single day for my students called Transcribe, which was created by Mike Johnston. It's a free beat player website. You can basically peck in a beat with hitting the little spaces on the screen and create these interactive practice files for your students. You can just save them to their lesson note as a web link, and they're able to open it up. They can see the notation. They can drag the speed up and down. It's fantastic. So you need to be able to transcribe and play many styles of music. Okay, those are some of the practical skills you need, and now we're going to transition to some of the life skills that you need to teach private lessons, okay? The first life skill, you need to be willing to work hard and do things that you don't like. For example, when I first started teaching lessons, I did not have a space to actually teach from. My wife and I were living in an apartment, and so I was teaching music one night a week at Music and Arts. I was renting a studio from another music teacher friend of mine 1 day a week and teaching in his studio on that day of the week. And then I was also using an empty bedroom at my parents' house on the other nights of the week. And I was driving to all these different locations. I also used to teach in-home drum lessons for many years, where I would actually drive to a student's home. I would pack up my little electronic drum set, my amp in my car, and I would, bring my practice pad and set up and teach them a private lesson in their home for an hour. So another example is, although I teach private drum lessons and that's what I studied and went to school for, I also have 2 beginner guitar students right now because I play some basic guitar. And I don't particularly like teaching guitar. It's not my passion like drumming is, but it's something that I'm willing to do because that's what it takes. If you're gonna be a private music teacher, you need to be willing to work hard and do things that you don't like. Okay, life skill number 2. You must drop your ego. And that is kind of related to not just your personal ego as a drummer or as a musician, but your ego in the sense of you can't expect every single one of your students to be a prodigy, okay? This is something I really messed up at early in my career as a music instructor, where I wanted every single one of my students to be the next professional drummer. And I had these high expectations for them, and I would pump them up during their lessons, and I would exhort them and encourage them and be like, you've got to do this. This is the most important thing in your life. You have to get your paradiddles up to 180 beats per minute. You just have to by next week. And you just started drumming yesterday. But you're going to quickly be discouraged as an instructor if you have those expectations, because it's just not reality. The truth is, for many of the people that you are going to be interacting with, these music lessons, it's just one small little blip of their life, and they're involved in other extracurricular activities. They've got just so many other things going on in their life, and for them, drumming or studying music, they may not love it as much as you, and it may not be their greatest passion in life, but that's okay. You can still have a great lesson with them, and you can still teach them, and they can still enjoy the learning process without becoming, the next, like I said, prodigy. The trick is to manage your expectations as a teacher, and you need to be willing to just meet the student where they're at. Now, this is not to say that you can't have expectations. I tell all my students that I'm never going to be that instructor that will just drill you and give you a hard time and make you feel bad about not practicing, because that's just not me. But if you tell me that you want to be serious about drumming and you want to get to this advanced level or this professional level, then I will flip that switch, and I will hold you accountable, and I will ask you, what did you practice this week? Why is the reason that I gave you this assignment and you did not put in the time to learn it before you walked in today? I will do that if somebody asks me, but my default is, Johnny has just come from football practice. He's spent the weekend at the lake with his friends. He did a sleepover, and he forgot to practice drums this week. And I say, you know what? That's okay, Johnny. No problem. Let's go back to our basic rudiment patterns and review some of our rock patterns, and we'll maybe review that song that I showed you last week. And you just meet them where they're at. Okay, the last life skill that I want to leave you with is to be kind, okay? I can't overstate how important this is, and the impact that you have the potential to have a massive positive impact as a private instructor. You have to understand that as somebody a little bit older in these kids' lives, they're looking up to you, and you have to be careful with the words that you use, and you need to be sensitive to how the lesson is going. What does this student look like when they walked in the door? Do they look like they just had a really bad day? Like maybe something happened. Maybe their dog just died. That can happen. And your job in that moment is not to be the drum instructor and make them play 8 on a hand at 200 BPM for half an hour. Your job is to empathize and to be kind and just to have a conversation with them, maybe for that lesson, and you do a little bit of drum stuff, okay? So, love to hear your thoughts on this. If you have thoughts about what it takes to teach private lessons, leave them in the comments. These are just things that I think about, and this is something that I'm really passionate about as a private instructor. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, take care, guys.